all succeeded in creative sectors. They have not succeeded in generally talking about things. So software application designers, fashion technology designers, jewelry designers, you'll name it. These are the people who are the greatest names you have. Look at technology. Which is the greatest name you have heard of? Steve Jobs. But he was not just an engineer. He was a designer. The way he designed the Apple computers, the way he designed the iPhone, today it's become standard. You take it for granted. But when it first happened, it was creativity which created that. So one thing is very clear, the future. Human creativity is the ultimate economic resource. I mean, we are today the most populous country in the world. We are the number one population in the world. And for that, our economic resource is our human resource, is our human creativity, human talent. If we cannot tap into it, we will never be able to become big. If you look all through history, creativity has helped in human progress, not by just doing the same things that we do over and over again, but by doing something different. What was it? You start with any creativity, invention of the wheel, the printing press, the radio, electricity, light bulb, aeroplane, and now the internet. These were not engineering feats, these were creativity. It came out of a culture which allowed creativity, an ecosystem which allowed creativity to function. And today, if you look at the future, for all the students who are watching this, and for all the students of Shiksha Anusandhan, the industries of the 21st century will be defined by a knowledge economy, where generation of new knowledge through creativity and innovation will power the world. This is the future. We are not looking at a future of only engineers and civil servants and doctors. We are looking at a future where there is creativity. So the new mantra is creative industries and cultural economy. I'm going to speak about that. For very, very long time, creativity and culture has been seen as a social issue, as a pastime, as entertainment, made for pleasure, for hobbies. We do music, we do dance, we do everything for hobby. We never think of it as a job, as a profession. And countries across the world have benefited from changing it from culture and creativity to an economic activity. You look at Korea. It's a small country, 50 million people. Orissa is 45 million people. We're almost the same size as Korea. But look at where Korea is today, whether it's Korean music, K-pop. All of you must have heard Gangnam Style is one of the most popular things in the world, or K-pop, or Korean TV, Korean serials, Korean culture is dominating the world. It's a country as big as Odisha. So imagine what culture can do to you. So what do we mean by cultural economy? I mean, it's a very easy term to say, cultural economy or creative industries. What do we mean by it? There have been a lot of definitions about it. But if you break it down, cultural economy or creative industry is about books, magazines, digital content. So basically content, whatever you read is done by somebody who's creating something, creating books, creating magazines, and digital content on the internet. Audiovisual, so you're looking at video content, and this includes even TikTok, even though it's banned in India. Television programs, films, audiovisual programs, all these come under creative industries. Then you have architecture, so making buildings, landscapes, environment design, space planning. You have design of various products, so even fashion designing, clothing designing, product designing, like the iPhone was designed, multimedia content. All these are part of what we call the creative economy. Then you have advertising. Advertising is a very big part of the creative economy. Creation of publicity pieces, marketing, market research. Then you have, of course, culture. You have arts and cultural heritage. You have museums, you have culture production, you have heritage sites, you have tourism, which is part of the cultural heritage. You have, of course, music, which is one of the greatest cultural assets. You have recording, edition, creation, music interpretation. Then you have the performing arts, you have acting, theater, dance, drama, you name it. And then, of course, in India, we forget to add, we have handicrafts. There are millions of artisans who do different handicrafts. You have folklore, folk dance, classical dances. You have gastronomy. Indian cuisine is known all over the world. And you have festivals. And then you have today on the internet a whole lot of creativity. Things like gaming, robotics, artificial intelligence. Look at what ChatGPT is doing. It is revolutionizing the world. So all these things, when you look at it, these are what depicts a country. How do you look at a country? They depict what you call soft power of a country. These are the cultural symbols of a country. They're part of our national identity. They define what we call brand India. So let me tell you a little about soft power, because that's something I really want to talk about. Thing called soft power. Can you all hear me? Just nod if you can hear me, because I feel you are unable to hear me.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We are able to hear you.
If you can hear me, just nod. I don't need to. Dr. Sharma, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Sir.
Okay, good. So let me tell you a little bit of soft power. What is soft power? We've heard of many things. We've talked about hard power. We've soft power. Now, hard power is basically military power, the power of the military, the political strength. Soft power is what Joseph Nye spoke about many years ago, about 30 years ago. Joseph Nye defined it as the ability of a country to get what it wants by making others want it. That is very simplistic way of looking at it. That is soft power. And it's a power which you have on other countries which is not linked to military power or hard power. It is basically cultural influence. Now, what is cultural influence? Cultural influence is the influence you have on other societies. It is the total way of life of a country. When Joseph Nye spoke about it, he spoke about political and economic culture of the country, which meant liberal democratic politics, free market economics, and its political system, its economic strength, its values and traditions, its cultural heritage. Today, we are going to talk about basically our values and traditions, about our cultural heritage, and our creative industry. India is blessed. We have all the cultural assets that we need, all the soft power assets that we need. We have everything from a cultural heritage. You can see from the magnificent monuments, buildings, to science and technological capabilities. We have put a rocket to Mars. We have sent missions to the moon. We put satellites in the world. And on top of that, we have Ayurveda, yoga, to Indian cuisine, cricket, cinema, tourism, artisans, classical music and dance, folk dancers, Bollywood dancers, literature, language, everything. So we have what we call one of the greatest soft power assets in the world. But is it enough? Is it enough to just have soft power assets? No, because we have to have the mechanism to translate these assets into influence. What is the point of having great monuments and wonderful tourism potential if nobody comes to visit? Nobody watches them. We need to utilize these great soft power assets that we have in a manner that it translates into an aspirational asset that the global community looks up to, marvels at, and wants to participate in it. And most important, wants to pay for it. And the monetary value of soft power is very important. Look at American soft power. You want to buy their products. You want to buy from McDonald's to Starbucks. You want to watch Hollywood movies, Netflix, TV serials, and even pay to study in the country. We pay thousands of dollars to study in the country because that's a soft power asset they have, the ability to attract us to the country. This is what we need. We need to translate our soft power capabilities into assets. How do we do that? There are many ways. We can talk about it. But before we go into that, I wanted to tell you two things about soft power. One is soft power cannot exist without hard power. Soft power on its own is nothing. You need hard power. Look at USA, for example. We look up to US as a soft power giant. But if the US was not a military power, not a economically strong power, would you look up to it? No, we would not look up to it. Same with any other country. We need both soft and hard power. We need both the economic might, the military might, and the soft power might. And the soft power has a great effect on economic power. The other thing I wanted to tell you about soft power is very fragile. You can build up your soft power assets over a long time. It takes one mistake for all the soft power to go. Look at what happened during COVID-19. Before COVID-19, China was seen as a country with huge soft power assets. People were attracted to go and study in China, do business with China, watch Chinese movies, everything. Today, after COVID-19, there is a suspicion about China. The whole world is worried about what China is going to do next. Chinese assets are not being bought by people. This is what can happen if we make mistakes. And this happens from pride. If you start thinking your culture is the strongest culture in the world and everybody else has to just come and take it, that pride will result in your culture going down. So what can we do? We need to work with other cultures. We need to work where we can collaborate with other people. And this is important because what we need is to monetize our culture in a manner when other people pay for it, other people come and respect our culture. We are already monetizing our culture in a very big way, but it is happening at a very slow pace. Look at Bollywood, Tollywood, Collywood, all the film industry. Our film industry produces 1,800 films a year, the largest in the world. But money-wise, we are still number 2 or number 3. RRR has just won the Golden Globes Award. You have other movies which are doing well, but yet it is not compared to what Korean movies are doing. Like I told you, Korea is the size of Odisha, but it is far ahead of us in cultural power across the world. So we need to do more. Look at our music industry. Our music industry is very big in the country, but outside the country, it is still smaller than other music industries. Our IT industry is big, but where is the creativity in our IT industry? Where we bought body shopping? We need to do more. Our artists and painters are good, but we are a fraction of the world. You know what the world market for art is? The world market for art is almost $90 billion. When you translate 90 billion, you are talking about 72,000 crores. It's more than that, 7,20,000 crores. That's the world market. We do only 200 million out of it, which is a ridiculous amount, something like 200 crores or 300 crores out of 72,000 crores in the world. We need to grow bigger. Our artisans, you look at the artisans, look at Odisha or any other place, the filigree work we have, the Pattachitra we have, the pipli, the saris, these artisans are very talented. But where are they in the world? Where are we selling? We are buying only ourselves. And our artists have to be supported all the time because we have not created an ecosystem for our artists to do well. We have, you now look at the world-class museums. You have the greatest museums across the world everywhere. But we still don't have great museums, art galleries. We buy Western toys. We buy toys from Western. But our toys, which were part of our ecosystem, we are not propagating it. Our sports persons are doing better. But still, we are way behind in Olympics. When you look at the Olympics, we are among the last few countries. 1 gold and we get very happy. There are countries, smaller countries than us, who get more golds. Cricket is the only one which is a bright spot where we are doing well. But cricket is only played by what? 20 countries. So we really have to do better. We need to create an ecosystem where our culture and creativity is encouraged, where students like you realize that there is a great potential in going into culture, where culture is not seen as just a pastime or a hobby, but as something which you can do as a profession. For this, we need two very important things. Number one, which is most, is a change of mindset. We need to change our mindset. Our mindset is still in the back ages, where we look at culture again as a hobby, a pastime, like I told you, not a profession. Our parents and even we don't allow society, our children, to be more creative, to do things which is different, to go into other fields. We want them again to be same, civil servants, engineers, doctors. This is the line we have. We don't look at a world beyond that. But it is changing. But we need to take time for it to change. We need to do it faster. And I think this generation, your generation, will make the change. Because you realize the world is a much bigger place than what we have seen up till now. But the second one is very important. Government has to focus on the cultural aspect of the economy. So there is a calculation done, and this was by Germany, by a lot of countries across the world. When you calculate how much part of an economy of a country, the GDP of a country, is part of the cultural economy, it varies between 6 to 12% of an economy. Now, this is far bigger than your steel industry, bigger than your automobile industry, bigger than your power industry, even bigger than your IT industry. Yet, we don't see culture as an industry. Why? Because of many reasons. But the main point is, what is the advantage of being an industry? I mean, Bollywood took years to be classified as an industry. It was only 10 years ago that film industry was classified as an industry. Till then, it was not an industry. It was just seen as another performing arts place. But what is the advantage of having an industry, and why am I insisting that government classify it as an industry? Because then government can have plans to give incentives, subsidies, assistance for this industry through tax incentives. You get tax holidays to set up an industry. Why can't you get tax holiday for setting up an auditorium or a dance academy or a music academy or anything? Access to banking. Right now, if you want to start a cultural organization, banks will not lend to you because banks don't know what it is, because your last mile connectivity is very difficult in cultural industry. So finance, how do you get easy finance? These are things which can only happen if you classify culture as an industry. Even today, auditoriums and theaters, I'm not talking about film theaters, I'm talking about theaters for performing arts. If you go to New York, you have Broadway, you have West End in London, you have in Paris, all massive, huge areas where theaters do programs every day, and not just one theater, hundreds of theaters. Where do we have them? We have in Bhubaneswar Rabindra Sangeet, run by the government, Rabindra Mandap. What I'm trying to tell is we need to get out there and encourage private people to, and this can only happen if you give incentives through tax incentives by making it an industry. But what happens because of it? Look at our cultural workers. They suffer because most of the cultural workers are freelancers, gig workers, and there has been very little effort by government to compile statistics of these. When did we find that there's a problem? During the pandemic, government was helping everybody. It was helping industry. There was a lot of subsidies given to industry to help the workers. Workers were given money. Insurance was giving money to people who lost their jobs. But in the cultural industry, nothing. Millions of artisans, millions of workers, millions of freelancers, nobody, because this is an unorganized sector. We could not help them because we do not have statistics of who are cultural workers. Similarly, our cities, look at our cities. Our cities have no cultural district. Madrid, you name it, have cultural districts, large cultural districts, where everything from dance, music, theatre, art, books, galleries, you name it, filled with activity, people doing all these things. The cities, these are attractions to a city. People come to the city because they can go watch a theatre, see a music show, go to a film industry thing. They can do it, whatever they want. Disco, music houses, performing dance academies, all these are part of what attracts people to a culture of a city. And the city gets tourism because of it. Everybody benefits. These are things we need to benefit in our own country. Government has to take care of this. More than that, government also has to have a system of training people in culture. Which university? Show me one university which does actually culture management or culture impresarios or how to do culture technologists, people who do technology. To do this massive things, you need technological people who handle culture, design techies, who designs all these things. We still do not have universities teaching. They teach standard architecture, design as in engineering design, but cultural design, very few. We need to get into that. We are doing it. There are some very brave universities which are starting to do it. But where do we have universities of the type of Stanford, Harvard, etc., which do even cultural work? Some of the best universities in the world in the US are cultural universities. So we need to do this. So why I have been telling you all this is because there is so much opportunity. We are a billion plus country, 1.4 billion. Now we are the most populous country in the world. We have 1 billion people below the age of 25. About 700 million people, below the age of 35, and 700 million people below the age of 25. Now, the 700 million people who come up to age need jobs, need opportunities, need entrepreneurial abilities, need a skill set to be able to provide them jobs. If you don't provide them jobs, imagine what will happen to the 700 million people. For that, we need to have opportunities which go beyond our standard opportunities that we do, to go beyond looking at the world as only civil servants, doctors, and engineers. And that is what I wish for you. If India is to be a global power, if India is to take its position among the top in the world, it has to harness all this potential. And this is important. So today, before I end, I wanted to tell all of you that the world, the opportunity is big. Culture is not to be looked at as something which is a pastime. Today, design, culture, all these are part of what is called the growing economy. The world is looking at the knowledge economy as the future. They're investing into it. Universities are the crucible where you make the decision makers, the future leaders of tomorrow. You are the people who have to learn all this. Today, I wanted to speak to you about it because I want you to understand the concepts of what can happen in the world if these things can take place in a better way. So I wish you all the best. From my side, Siksha Sandhan is doing a great job. I've been following what you're doing. You need to do more. I am here to assist you in whatever way you need. We are trying to fix up between universities, collaboration between universities in India and universities in Europe. We'll be able to help. But thank you very much and have a great day. Thank you. Namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. With your permission, we will have a brief question answer session, sir. Can we have a brief Q&A session, sir, of 5 to 10 minutes? Am I audible, sir? Am I audible? Am I audible, sir?
Audible, sir. Audible, sir. Audible, sir. Audible, sir. Audible, sir.
No, I cannot hear you, but that's.
So if I am audible, sir, should we take a
But there you go.
question answer
Look,
for
someone
5
there
to
you
10
go.
minutes? Sir, can we take a question answer of 5 to 10 minutes, sir? Can I, sir, am I audible, sir? Am I audible? Sir, can we take question answer of 5 to 10 minutes?
Of course, of course.
Okay. So now the platform is open for questions. I will just ask, I will initiate the question answer session with 2 questions, sir. Number 1, I had been to Uganda and I saw the road is being constructed by Chinese capital from Entebbe to Kampala, and I also visited few other African countries. So I see how the Chinese capital is playing a lot of economic games there. So I just want to ask you, vis-a-vis the Chinese policy of diplomacy in Africa, what is our stand, number 1? And number 2, you have very rightly pointed out that instead of culture becoming a pastime or a hobby, we have to look for monetizing culture. And as you have very rightly pointed out, and that is an eye-opener for me also, that the great universities of the world like Harvard, Stanford are cultural universities. So this is really a very important thing for us. And as this university also look for that kind of thing. So these are the 2 questions, sir. Number 1, the questions that I have asked you about our diplomacy vis-a-vis Chinese diplomacy in Africa. And number 2, how to monetize our Sambalpuri Bastralaya, especially the Sambalpuri Bastras in the world market. These are the 2 questions, sir.
On Africa, we are also doing a lot. It's not as if we are not doing. You went to Uganda, but if you go to most of the rest of Africa, you will find a lot of projects that are happening, from dam projects to entrepreneurship development projects to IT projects to a whole lot of things. For us, our strength is in building up human capital. So we give a lot of projects where it is building up of human capital. We do not do much projects in actually road and railways, but railways we are doing a lot of projects. We are doing in connectivity projects. We are doing in health, hospitals. So there is a lot happening. But you have to understand one thing: we are in no competition. China is a much bigger economy than us. They are about 5 times as big as us, 3 times as big as us. So they have much more money to spend, and it is not for us to spend money to just get favors. That is literally like doing bribery. That is not something we look at. We look at having people to people linkages. For example, education is the best resource that we can do. A lot of Chinese African students go to China to study, but they don't like it out there because they have to study in Chinese. They love coming to India because we teach them in English. We have a more friendly atmosphere. We have a more open atmosphere. But yet our universities still do not have the capacity to take in the large number of students who will come from across the world. We have a few students, but we can take in much more students. Education is one of our strengths. It's not just college education and university education, but also student education at school level. We can become, look at all the rich people across the world. They send their children to where? Switzerland to do schools, to UK, London to do schools. Why do they send them? Because the education. Why do people from India spending millions of dollars, their students to US to study? Same way, we should become a magnet for Africa, for Central Asia, for Southeast Asia, for our neighborhood to come and study in India. That is PM Modi's dream of creating India as an education hub. I hope we can do it. The new education policy is a much better policy than it was earlier. If we work on it, we can do it. Today, earlier there was no mobility because you did not have credit system. You could not move from one university to another. You had to be stuck to one university. Now that you have a credit system, people can have mobility. You can take your credits and go to other places. So similarly, we can tie up with universities across the world to have an exchange of students. You do one semester abroad and they do one semester in India in your universities, where you can work together to pick up credits and get your degree at the end in your own university. So there is a lot of things we can do. If you need my advice on any of this, I'll be very happy to talk to you about how we can set up university to university collaboration. The number two question about yours is about monetizing Sambalpuri Vastralaya. This we have been talking to the Ministry of Textiles in a large way. Now, what is it about Sambalpuri Vastralaya? It's wonderful, but you have to understand the rest of the world does not wear saris like we do. Only Indian diaspora, and that too very few, wear saris. But the patterns and the prints and the quality of our textiles is wonderful. We need to redesign our prints to fit the world designs. So making more Western designs in Indian prints, the same cloth, the same fabric, rather than make it as a sari, we make it as a design. To find outlets, the big ones, Macy's, El Corte Inglés, Harrods, all these big chains want to have different fabrics, different garments. We need to put them together in a manner in which we can target them with the same quality, with the same designs, but in a different form. So instead of making saris, we make things which are suitable for Western world. If you're in a cold country, you cannot wear a sari. It's very difficult. But you can wear Western wear with the same design, same clothes. So we need to do this. It's very easy to do it. It is not difficult. And there are people already doing it. They're not doing it with Sambalpuri Vastralaya, but Banarasi patterns are now going across the world to make jackets, skirts, pants, shirts, t-shirts, all kinds of things. Women's wear, gowns, everything is happening today. We are doing it more, but we still need to get out there. The other problem in India for garments and textiles has always been we don't allow women to work late at night. Our garment industry has not grown up because we do not have women workers. Men workers are not as good as doing things. For us, till we don't liberate women in our country, don't allow them the same rights, it's going to be very difficult for us to be able to target the international markets.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Now, for your kind information, sir, we have got 1200.
Dr. Sharma, I can't hear you.
Am I audible, sir? Am I audible? Am I audible? Am I audible, sir?
Am I audible, sir? Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
For your kind information, sir, we have got 1200 viewers online in the Microsoft Teams, and there are more than 250 students and faculty sitting on this hall physically. So I think one or two questions we'll be expecting from the audience.
No, 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 no.
Anybody who wants to ask a question?
Dr. Sharma, I'm unable to hear anything.
Am I audible, sir, now?
Sir, now? Sir, now? Sir, now?
Now, but
Sir, now?
now I can.
Sir, now?
Okay. कौन होची राशेखर?
Lakshman, that you go.
The echo is because the mic is in front of the speakers.
Yes.
So it creates a loop.
Okay.
Yeah.
The sound loop is the problem which happens.
Yeah.
Dr. Sharma, we are unable to hear you. Can you hear him, Dr. Sahu?
Now am I audible, sir?
Dr. Vijay Sahu, ଶୁଣା ଯାଉଛି ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ? ମତେ ତ ଶୁଣା ଯାଉନି।
ମତେ ପୁରା ଭଲ କି ଶୁଭୁଛି।
ମୋ କଥାଟା ଶୁଣା ଯାଉଛି, ବଟ୍ ଡକ୍ଟର ଶର୍ମାଙ୍କର ଆବାଜଟା ଶୁଣା ଯାଉଛି?
ନାଇଁ, ତାଙ୍କ ଶୁଭୁନି କିଛି।
ତାଙ୍କର ଶୁଣୁନି। ମୁଁ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ତ ମୁଁ ପୁରା କ୍ଲିୟରଲି ଶୁଣି ପାରୁଛି।
ହଁ 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 ବହୁତ ସୁନ୍ଦର, ଏକ୍ସେଲେଣ୍ଟ ଡିସ୍କସନ, ବହୁତ ବଢିଆ। वी आर रियली वेरी ग्लैड।
ନାଇଁ ଭଲ।
ସାର୍ ଏବେ ସୁବିଲା ସାର୍?
ବୁଝନ୍ତୁ କି ଦୁନିଆରେ ବହୁତ କିଛି ସ୍କୋପ ଅଛି। ବିକଜ ଏଇ ସ୍କୋପଟା ଯୋଉଟା, ଆଉ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ ଯଦି କିଛି ଟାଇ ଅପ୍ କରିବାର ଅଛି ମତେ କହିବେ, ମୁଁ ଏଇଠି ୟୁନିଭର୍ସିଟି ସାଙ୍ଗେ ୟୁରୋପରେ କଥା ହେବି, କିଛି କରିପାରିବା।
ଆମେ ଏମଓୟୁ ଆମ ୟୁନିଭର୍ସିଟି ସାଙ୍ଗରେ ୱିଲ୍ ହାଭ୍ ଏମଓୟୁ, ଏବଂ ଆମେ ୱିଲ୍ ବି ଇନ୍ ଟଚ୍ ୱିଥ୍ ୟୁ।
ଠିକ ଅଛି।
ଆପଣ କଥା କରିକି ଆମେ କିଛି ଏମଓୟୁ କରିବା, so that we can have some student exchange program and faculty exchange program.
ବହୁତ ଭଲ ହବ, ବହୁତ ଭଲ। ମୁଁ କରେଇବି। I think Dr. Nachiketa ଥାଉ ଆଜି এটা ବୋଧେ କନେକ୍ସନର ଅସୁବିଧା ହଉଛି।
ହଁ ସାର୍, ଟିକେ ଅସୁବିଧା ହଉଛି। So on behalf of the university and the outreach cell, we are extremely grateful to you, sir. And as you have rightly suggested, we will explore some possibilities of having MOUs with some of the good universities of Spain at least. And actually, I had the fortune of going to Barcelona and from there to the Kingdom of Morocco, at least to Casablanca, but that could not be materialized. So sometimes in future, if it happened, I will definitely look forward to your kind help, sir. And we will also we will also seek your guidance in how to make our universities also culturally strong. That is what is very important. Whatever you have very rightly suggested, that is probably pointing in the direction of how university will take shape in the coming few years. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. Sir, just one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
जे जेमती बाहर देशर पिला माने को माने बाहर देशर पढ़िया पे आम पिला माने बेसी इंटरेस्ट होचंदी। बाहर पिला माने जदी आम देश रे आसी की सेती इंटरेस्ट पढ़िबे, मे बी आम पिला माने बाहर को न जाय के एठी बेसी इंटरेस्ट हेबे की? बुझी पारलेनी?
मते टिप्पणी को मोर सुना जाउनी तो कथा कोन कहलु।
आम देश आसी पढ़िया कम इंटरेस्ट देखौचंदी, किंतु आम देशर पिला माने बाहर देश को जाई पढ़िया अधिका इंटरेस्ट देखौचंदी। जदि बाहर देश पिला माने आम देश पढ़िया बेसी इंटरेस्ट देखांदे, ताहले हुए तो आम देशर पिला माने भी आम देश पढ़िया अधिका इंटरेस्ट देखै पारिबे कि? या होची मोर प्रश्न।
हेलो क्वेश्चन। मेन कथा काई की इंटरेस्ट ता कहा प्रति हुए, आपन को कोन को जिंस इंटरेस्ट है जोटा कि आपन टू बेटर सेही जिंसटा देखिया पे भलो फिल्म देखिया को इच्छा हुए, भलो म्यूजिक सुनिया को इच्छा हुए, सेमिति पढ़ा रे भी तमे भलो जगह पठिया को इच्छा। एबे जाय हमर सेही रेपुटेशन हेनी कि हमर यूनिवर्सिटीज रो कि वर्ल्ड क्लास रेपुटेशन हेनी कि बाहर लोक आसीबे। जोटा अछि जेमिति आईआईटीज रे अछि कि आईएनएम रे अछि कि सम ऑफ द बिगर यूनिवर्सिटी सेठी आसु जंती। बट छोटो यूनिवर्सिटी रे खाली गवर्नमेंट स्कॉलरशिप मिलला आसुचंती, नहले बहुत कम लोक निजरु आसंती। तो हमको जदी अट्रैक्ट करिया पड़ियो बाहर लोक मान को, तो हममान को सेटा को वी हैव टू पुट इन प्लेस द राइट इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर टू अट्रैक्ट स्टूडेंट्स। सुना जाउची मो कथा?
जो पिला माने माने मोर पर्सनल मु जेति पिला मान को टू स्टडी करछि, पिला माने चाहू छने आम देश रे स्टडीटा होची माने रिसर्च लेवल रे होनी। आमे खाली बही आ पाठ एग्जाम भितर पड़ी जाउचे। तांको ने फॉरेन रे आमे माने बही आ पाठ ने रिसर्च लेवल रे अधिक होची हैला। तेणु पाठपढ़ाटा जदि रिसर्च लाइन माने खाली बही खाता भितर न रहीकि जोटा पढ़ुचंदी ताको रिसर्च लाइन रे होबो ताहले एटा होची बेसी सक्सेसफुल होबो
सब बेले बट रिसर्च ता खाली पिला मन को पाए नहीं बाहर प्रोफेसर मान को भी कंपलसरी कि वर्ष को एटलीस्ट से रिसर्च करेंगे 3टा पेपर पब्लिश करेंगे सब प्रोफेसर टीचर को अच्छी आमर सेमती ना आम टीचर मैंने केते पब्लिश करचंती so it is becoming you see it has to start from the top if only everybody does it will become a system which samaste kari paribe so we have to work out a system which actually puts together research as an essential part of the education system.
Yes sir, thank you, that's I want to say.
Good evening, sir. I am Dr. Sandhya from Rajdhani College, Bhubaneswar. So my question is that how cultural factors shape economic outcomes? Can you just suggest into Indian context?
Okay, I will tell you. There are two cultural factors have a very big influence on economic outcomes. And I'll give you one simple example for you to understand that. In our culture, we prefer to keep women indoors. We have not liberated women. Our Factories Act, even today, do not allow women to work after 8 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the evening. For the IT industry, when the IT industry needed some assistance, we had to find a way to get an exemption from the act. That's a very cultural thing in us. Our culture doesn't allow us to allow women to work after 6 o'clock. We say it is not safe, we don't do this. Now that has such a huge economic outcome. Look at whichever place women are allowed. Bangladesh is a classic example. Bangladesh is next door. The Bangladesh garment industry is 10 times the size of India. Why? Because women can work right through. Southeast Asia, China, you name it, Japan, Korea, all these places, wherever. So that's a very cultural factor. I can give you many such examples of cultural factors which affect the economy. But you are 100% correct. Cultural factors also affect the economy. But more than that, we need to make culture as a basis of our economic activity.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for this beautiful lecture. And I think our faculties and students must have been very happy interacting with you. Thank you so much. On behalf of the university, I am according the formal vote of thanks, and we are extremely grateful to you and look for your guidance in future. Namaskar, sir.
हेलो ओके जो जो नाम लिखवाए थे वो जो लिस्ट में जो स्पीच का